Broken Patterns YouTube channel. We're going to talk about printing PDF patterns today. All of our patterns are digital. There is no hard copy to purchase. It's just download straight to your computer and you print at home. With 3 different formats to print. You have your US letter format, A4 and AO. Okay, let's talk about how to print a digital PDF pattern. You should be using Adobe Acrobat. It is a free download, and I highly recommend that, and printing from a PC, computer, not tablets and phones. We're going to go over the US letter, A4, AO, and the projector style, which is new to PDF pattern sewing, and it requires no more paper, no more taping, so no more printing stacks and stacks of paper and taping them all together. So none of this, it's gone. In order to do that, you do require, obviously, a projector, which you can learn more about that in the Projectors for Sewing group. It's a great group, lots of resources there. I've updated, and I'm continuing to update all of my patterns, and going forward, my new patterns will all be in the same format that we're going to show you today. So let's jump on the computer and I'll show you how to print your PDF patterns. Okay, so here I've got open the Little Miss Sundress, which we just re-released with the new formats. So every PDF pattern we put out should have 4 files. You'll have a tutorial file, US letter, A4, and AO. So we're going to go through the US letter first, and this will be the same for A4 pattern pieces as well. Here we have the cover page for your print guide. You'll see this in the beginning of all the pattern piece files, regardless of which one you open. So once you open this, you'll see information of how this is going to print. The chart is going to tell you to print page 5, but your printed pattern piece is going to say page 3. When you print your pattern pieces, here's a printed pattern piece, and it says page 1. This is not page 1 of your file. Because I have all of this information for you, it's going to bump it on the side here. You'll see this little stacked paper looking thing. Those are your layers. Once you click on this, it'll open up some drop-down menus. So I'm going to scroll down so you can see your chart for which pages to print, your print layout of what your pages will look like when you tape them together. And if I scroll down, okay, so this is your first drop-down menu. This is going to be all of your sizes. Every single size that this pattern comes with is right here. So I'm going to click on this, and it opens up all the sizes. These are your layers. So if I do not want to print anything but 12-month size, I'm going to deselect all these little eyeball icons so I don't see them. I'm going to keep anything that says keep, because those are important things like labels, things that you need to print your pattern correctly. So as you scroll through, you'll notice the only thing there is that green line. That's the 12-month size. So I'm only printing that. Is our standard PDF. That's how everything is working for all patterns currently. As I update these patterns, I've been adding this tablet section. This is for printing without layers. I know a lot of people are using their phones, tablets, or printing from web browsers instead of using Adobe Acrobat. If you have a phone or a tablet, using the web browser, and that's what this next set of pattern pieces are. I've divided them up into different sizes. As you can see, this is how it will look for size 12, 7, 14, and 18 month when you tape it together. So if you need to grade between sizes, you're going to have to print, if you needed a 10, 12, and you need to go in between for the waistline or something, you're going to have to print twice to do that. That's only because you don't use layers. If you're using the layers, which is all sizes, you can print 10 and 12 at the same exact time and grade it easily that way. Or let's go back to the phone, tablet printing through web browsers. So you have your options. You have 4 sizes here, so you can see and differentiate between different lines and sizes. Everything's nice and neat. Same for the next, that's the next one, 10, 6, 3T, and 12 month. And the last one is 8, 5T, and 2T. That's how we've been reformatting for our reboots of our older patterns and anything new going forward. I'm not going to open the A4 because it looks exactly like the US letter, but let's go ahead and take a look at what our AO patterns look like. The AO format can be sent out for printing, which you'll see here. It's labeled print all sizes, and that will have your layers just like we went over with the US letter. All the layers are there so you can select which sizes you want when you send it out to the printer. If you don't have access to layers, you can do the same thing printing from your phone or tablet using the print 12, 7, 14, and 18 month, or you can select 10, 6, 3T, 12 month, or 8, 5T, and 2T. So you can send those out to print just the same. Now let's talk about projector sewing. This is new to the sewing world. You do need a projector, and it's mounted to the ceiling normally. Some people have been using clamp mounts to their table, and they hang over your workspace, but you're projecting down onto your workspace, and it's pretty neat. I recommend going to the Projectors for Sewing group if you're interested in learning more about that. So let me show you how our projector files look. They're pretty sweet. So, okay, so again, it's labeled projector. It's labeled what pieces are on there. These are going to be set up differently than printing because when you print, you want to fill as much of your paper space with pattern pieces as possible. You want to use as little paper as possible so you don't have to pay the extra expense to print extra pages when they're not necessary. But with projectors, the pattern pieces work out better if they are situated in a way that is easy for cutting, which may not be the best for printing because, as you can see, this page only has 2 pattern pieces, whereas if I scroll up to show you the print one, here we go, print all sizes, you'll see it has every pattern piece on here, and this one's a little sideways. You know, these are not going in the same direction. That's great for printing, not great for projection. If you print this, you're cutting out these pieces, and you can situate them however you'd like on your cutting space. If you're projecting this, then you have to turn fabric, adjust your screen, all kinds of things that make it a little less easy to use. So for the projector, I have it split up into different pattern pieces, and they're labeled on the side here for you. I have a grid layer, as you can see here. This is 1-inch grids, and we have check squares in all corners, 2x2s. There's a 3 centimeters and 1. So you can calibrate and make sure everything is perfect for projecting and the sizes are accurate. So here we go, you can see that. The grid layer you can turn off. Let's open up that pattern, scroll down to the page, and you'll see. So here is our all sizes projector, center panel, which is this one, and your side panel. You'll see we have a grid layer, which after you calibrate and make sure everything is looking good, you can shut that off and get rid of it. You don't need it anymore. And again, you only want to project one size. Just go ahead and deselect all the layers that you don't want. And there you have, the only thing you'll see is just the single size and your test square boxes. So now let's take a look at the rest of our pattern pieces. You'll notice that they're all lined up. They're all stretches going the proper way, so you don't have to switch and move and flip things. The only thing I tend to do, and it's been asked to be changed, but I feel like it's better to work with non-directional fabric if you have the opportunity. Directional fabric is great, but it requires more thinking, planning, and usually more fabric when you are cutting out your patterns. So I really like non-directional fabric. That way, if I want my to situate my pieces, I can do that in a more economic way and save fabric. So I didn't switch these, like the hood could be facing this way, flipped over, same as the sleeve, to match going the same direction. That's one thing if you are projecting that you'll have to flip your screen for, flip your projection, but that's only for directional fabric, and I think most of the time we end up buying non-directional fabric, or at least I do anyways. If you don't have Adobe Acrobat available and you're using the Exodio app, this is how you're going to open the file, save it, going to use it. When I click on it to open it, it's going to open and I'm going to be able to see everything that's in there. Everybody's phone or tablet's going to be a little different. This is an iPhone 6. It's pretty old, but my download or send little icon is down here at the bottom. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to go over to the Exodio app, which is a free download. And here you'll see I'm going to download that. So I'm going to click save. And it's right now, it's open in the app. Okay. To find your layers function, you're going to go down here in the corner. And then up here at the top, you'll see layers. By clicking on this, all of my layers are now open. So I can shut off that grid layer. I can turn off all sizes that I don't want to see. I'm going to keep size 12. And when I open it up, you'll see that's all that's there. So let's go back and let's go back to our layers function. We're going to turn the grid layer on and turn off size 12. And that's it. It's pretty simple. It works really well for projecting. You'll be mirroring. You can't project or you cannot print with this app, so this is not an app for printing. It's only an app for projecting, and you'll be mirroring your phone. So however you need to set that up with your projector, that's what you're going to do. It's just going to mirror to the projector, which then will project down to your surface. That's it. Let's talk a little bit about how to actually print. Now that we've went over the different types of file formats, let's go and actually print something. So here I have our US letter file open. I have our print chart here, so I know which pages I'm going to print. I have selected my size using layers. I'm going to go up to print, select print. I'm going to select my printer, make sure that's correct, and I'm going to check all the correct boxes here. My computer and printer setup works best with auto, portrait, and landscape. It should always print your pattern pieces in landscape position. Now, sometimes choosing landscape doesn't always work out. I'll show you that in a second. But it should always print in that way. You don't want to print in portrait. If it comes out in portrait format, it's really not going to work out at all. You will be missing all kinds of things. So we are going to print page 6. Let's look at page 6. And you can see in my print preview box what it's going to look like when I print it. You see this nice even border all the way around. You have your border lineup stars in the corners and your pattern piece and the page number. So here I have it on auto, portrait landscape selection. It's automatically putting it in landscape because that's how it's designed. So that's the one that I'm going to use because that's what works best for my print driver. So here's what happens if I select just landscape. See how it's pushing everything up into the corner? Now that's not going to work well when I print it. It's going to be hard to line things up. You may have a border set on your printer that prints automatically with a page border around it, and that will cut off around the edges here. So you can use that, but if your print preview box, and look at this often when you're printing, make sure it's printing properly, and you can see that here in this box. If you choose landscape, that's what mine looks like. So I'm going to go with the auto, and it goes back to normal. Let's talk about the size. Actual size, again, it doesn't look like much changed, but it is slightly off for me. So you don't want to use fit to page because that's going to fill the entire entire space with your pattern piece, and it's going to distort your image. And your test squares won't work out and the sizing will be off. So for me, what works best with my printer is custom scale 100%. So if you go into your properties, you'll see paper size. You have A4, letter, and all these other options. Make sure if you're using our letter pattern pieces that you have selected letter. If you're using A4, make sure it's set to A4. It will make a huge difference if you print with the wrong paper size. So there we go. So once you have that, everything all set, go ahead and hit print, and then you can assemble your pattern. Okay, assembling the patterns are simple. They're all the page numbers. When we talked about the number of the pages aren't going to line up with the print guide page numbers because of the beginning cover pages. So I'm going to take my pages and line them. I'll just do a couple. You can see there's this border here on both pages and the star in the corner. I want to line that up so that the border lines just touch each other. I don't want them to overlap. The stars should match up in the corners, and then we're just going to tape it together. We want them to just barely touch, just butt up against each other, just like that. And that's how it should be placed. That's it. That's how you print and use our patterns. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me or find me in our Facebook group, and there's lots of help there. Ragamuffin Patterns is the group name. Little Ragamuffin Boutique is my Facebook page. You can email me at jen@littleragamuffin.com, and I'm always happy to help. We have several free patterns for you to try. There's some in the group. They're in the files. Those are 16-inch stuffed animal friend clothes that match our other patterns for kids. We have a couple free kid patterns. We have 2 raglans, and there's a tie, a boys and men's tie pattern for free. The code for those are in our Facebook group. So if you have some time, want to check it out, go ahead and get some free patterns and print them, test them, and I hope you love them and come back for more.